All day I dream about math. Okay, good morning or afternoon, guys. Today we are learning how to graph using intercepts. But first up, we're going to talk about what happens when the slope of a line is horizontal, like just straight across, and what happens when the slope of a line is up and down. Okay, because there is reasoning with that. So you need to learn about that. You will see that again too. Okay. And good luck today. All right, guys. So we know that slope is y over x, right? It is the rise over the run. All right. All right. We know that, right? Y is on top and x is on bottom. It's going up or down, then left, right. Okay, so what happens when your y is 3, but your x is 0? All right, what happens then? What happens to this slope? Because let me tell you, what you would do is you would see, okay, I'm going to go to, you know the y-axis is crossing at 3, right? It's crossing at 3, so let's say this is 3. So here is my slope of this line. It's just straight across. Is that slope moving? No. The slope of this line would be considered, it would just be considered 0, okay? So when you have a horizontal line, it's just, the slope of that is just 0. It has no slope. It has no movement. Because you can't go to 3. You go to 3. You can't go up and over. It doesn't work, right? You don't go over any. So you just stay at 3. So just 3, that's it, okay? Now, a little bit different. Still, your y is still on top, x is on bottom. So now we're going to talk about what happens when it's vertical. So let's say you have 0 here and, well, let's say 3 again. Doesn't really matter. We'll say 3 again, okay? So basically, here's my coordinate plane. Let's just guess that 3 is right here. And here is the slope of this line, okay? It's just straight up and down. Will it ever cross that y-axis? Does it? Will it ever cross that y-axis? No, it won't. It's just going to stay at 3 and go up and down. It's never going to touch that y-axis. So if it never touches the y-axis, we don't call that slope 0. That slope is considered undefined, okay? It's an undefined slope, okay? So there is a difference. And I don't know of any really cool tricks and ways to remember it. The way I remember it is, if it has a 0 on top, it's never going to cross the y-axis, so it's undefined. And if it has a 0 on bottom, then the x, if it has a 0 for x, it doesn't have any slope, so it's 0. That's the only way I know how to remember it. I don't have any cool ways to remember it, so if any of you guys do, please share with me. I would love to share it with everybody else. All right, guys, so this is another way you may see something similar to this about slope and y-intercept and whatnot. So you see that we have y, x, and then obviously this would be our y-intercept when we reduce it enough, but anyway. So the question is, what they want us to do is they want us to find where does it cross the x-axis and where would this line cross the y-axis. And it is not hard at all. So what we're going to do to figure out where it's going to cross the x-axis, where it's going to go hit this cross point, the x-axis, we're going to plug in 0 for y, okay? And that makes sense because if you have, we want to know where does it cross here. Well, your y has to be 0, not moving for it to be there, okay? So that's why we're going to plug in 0 for y, okay? So now we have negative 6x plus 8 times 0 equals 24, all right? And we know that 8 times 0 is 0. So now we have negative 6x equals 24. All right, now we got to get rid of this negative 6, and it is multiplying here, and we've got to undo it by doing the opposite, which is dividing by negative 6. And if we divide this side by negative 6, we've got to divide this side by negative 6. So x would equal negative 4, okay? X equals negative 4. Now, we have to find the y-axis, the y-intercept. So, again, I'm going to rewrite my equation. Negative 6x plus 8y equals 24, okay? Now, instead of plugging in 0 for y, I'm going to plug in 0 for x, okay? Because that'll tell me where it crosses the y-axis. So, rewrite my equation. Negative 6 times 0 plus 8y equals 24. Okay. Anything times 0 is 0. So now we're left with 8y equals 24. And I got to get rid of the 8, so I'm going to divide by 8, and y equals 3. So this line would cross the y-axis at 3. So what I want you to do next is pause this and get out scratch paper. Well, don't pause just yet, but I'm going to rewrite the new equation. And I want to see if you can do it by plugging in 0 for x and 0 for y, doing two different equations to see if you can get the y-intercept. So this is the equation we're going to use, okay? 3/4 x minus 6y equals 18, okay? So pause now. That's not negative, sorry. Pause it now and try this, plugging in 0 for y and then 0 for x, okay? Okay, so let's see, did you get this right? All right, so we're going to plug in 0 for y first. 3/4 x minus 6 times 0 equals 18. Okay, negative 6 times 0 is 0. So now we have 3/4 x equals 18. I'm going to divide by 3/4 and divide by 3/4, which is the same as multiplying by 4/3, right? So 3 will go into 18 6 times, and x would equal 24, okay? Right? So my x-intercept is 24. Did you get 24? That was a really hard one for you to get. All right, hopefully you did. All right, so next we're going to do the y-intercept. Okay, 3/4 x minus 6y equals 18. Now I'm going to plug in a 0 for x. 3/4 x, 3/4 times 0 minus 6y equals 18. That cancels out. So now I'm left with 6y, negative 6y equals 18. All right, so now I've got to divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, and y would equal negative 3. Did that show? Okay, I thought I was running out of camera room. Okay, y equals negative 3. So the x-axis would be 24. The y-axis is negative 3. If you didn't get it right, let me know. We need to talk and maybe do another example. If you got it right, good job. We're going to look at 7 and 8 real quick. It says determine the x and y intercepts of each equation, then use the intercepts to graph the equation. All right, so you would have, this is the answer key. So I just wanted to show y'all. So you would plug in 0 for x, 0 for y here, and solve. Well, you would do 0 for y or 0 for one or the other. You would do two different equations solving. All right, so as you can see, just looking at this graph, I can see right now it crosses the x-axis at positive 2, and then it crosses the y-axis at 1, 2, 3, negative 4, okay? Looking at this, I would plug in 0 here, and then I'd have to graph it. All right, so you would plug in, it would cross here. You can see it's crossing at, let's see, the x-axis is like 1.5. I guess. And then the y-axis looks like, I don't even know. Oh, it's -3. Sorry, these are not going right. That's kind of weird. Should be like right here. All right, so this is a bad example. So let's look at this. Okay, so it does have that. So how did they know these were zeros right here when they were graphing? Well, they know they were zeros because when we plugged in 0 here and we solved for x, we got +2. So x is 2 and our y was 0 because we put y in for 0. All right, now, same thing. How did we know that our y was -4 and our x was 0? Well, we plugged in 0 for x here and we solved for y and we got -4. That's how we knew. So you would just get a coordinate plane and you would graph, you would plot the points and then draw a line straight through. All right. So I hope that was easy for you guys and I hope y'all are understanding this. If you don't, just let me know.